my personal consultant, an expert on all things UFC, did explain to me, I think, a good reasoning behind that scoring in that fight from the judges who thought it was a little more lopsided than myself and the one judge did, was that while Hendricks seemed to control most of the action and was never in any danger in rounds 2 or 3, the fight took place for a good majority of those 2 rounds with him having his back up against the octagon. So that was one thing that I didn't really notice and take into consideration at the time, and could at least understand and agree with. And that is on film. That did happen. I didn't really think it made a difference because Hendricks still seemed to be controlling the action and the pace for the majority of both of those rounds. And to me, in a draw, that's where my tiebreaker, one of my main tiebreaker things in a fairly evenly contested fight, which to me it was. Hendricks did not look good at all in the first round. Gastelum came out, looked really good in the first round. But yeah, Gastelum ultimately got the unanimous decision. And then in the final fight on the undercard for the Fox Sports prelims, we had Juliana Pena, the Venezuelan vixen, defeating Cat Zingano, as I predicted, via unanimous decision. 29-28 was the score by all judges. Cat Zingano came out and was crushing her for the most part of the first round. But then Pena was able to turn it into a grappling match in rounds 2 and 3 and just really dominated Cat for those rounds and was able to get the narrow unanimous decision. So I was happy to have her as one of my value picks on a lot of my DraftKings lineup as well. Then we got to the main card, which I was able to watch from the comforts of my own couch in its entirety from start to finish. Oh, what a great belated Father's Day present. That started off with Brown Pride, Cain Velasquez, to nobody's surprise, easily defeating Travis Brown via TKO from strikes at 4:57 of round 1. Cain Velasquez looks now, he was number 3 ranked at the time. Brown, I believe, was number 6. Cain Velasquez definitely putting his name in the mix for a heavyweight title opportunity. We'll have to see what happens from there. Then in the fight after that, what I expected to be the best fight of the night, and honestly I felt was a little bit of a disappointment. Not based off of who won or who lost, but just from a watching it, entertainment quality of the fight standpoint. In a title fight, we had Jose Aldo, current champion, defend his title successfully against number 1 contender Frankie Edgar via unanimous decision, 49-46, 49-46, 48-47. That, of course, being a 5-round fight, hence the scoring number difference from all of the 3-round fights on the undercard. And I did, I was pretty much 50-50 on who was going to win this. I did ultimately and officially go with Edgar as my pick. He was never in a position to win that fight at any point in time. Grew horribly frustrating that he didn't even attempt to win the fight at the ends of any rounds and make any pushes or anything. He just let it go because he got beat up pretty bad. Jose owned him, made him look foolish for the most part. Aldo was very much on top of his game and looks very much recovered from his previous devastating loss to Conor McGregor. But again, I expected that fight to be more back and forth, and just a more exciting contest where it really was one-sided and a lot of defense and just cumulative body blows and mild strikes and things like that. Then following that match was the 2 days in the making match between Daniel Cormier and Anderson Spider Silva. Cormier won the match via unanimous decision, 30-26 on all judges' scorecards. It really was the type of fight where you were just watching to see if Anderson Silva could survive as well as when it was on their feet, if somehow he could land a blow. But he seemed to get gassed as the fight went on. Obviously, taking it on 2 days' notice, not training for it, being the 8 pounds lighter guy, being a light heavyweight. You know, Anderson Silva is not a light heavyweight. In his illustrious, greatest of all time career, he had only fought 3 fights in his entire UFC career in that weight class prior to this fight, which he had won all of them, but he had trained for as well. And so Cormier came in at like 206, and what was Silva? I think they said Silva was 198, but he was closer to 192 or somewhere in there. But and Silva's actually quite taller with a big reach advantage. So you felt that as long as the guys were on their feet, Silva had a chance. And holy cow, was the crowd behind Spider booing Cormier, which I did feel kind of bad for that. But he won in a boring fashion, which he owned at the end of the fight, saying that he respected and was grateful to Silva for accepting the fight, and that he is the greatest of all time, and was just honored to be in the ring with him, and that he did what he had to do to win the fight. Like, he knows and acknowledges that I can't stand on my feet and exchange strikes with Anderson Silva. That's not how I beat him. I did what I had to do to win the fight, and that was getting in close to him, grappling him to the ground, and then wearing him down on the mat. Over time, it's not exciting, and it's kind of a copping out way of it's the easy way to victory, let alone the only way. But it's what I had to do, and I did it. And I never felt like he should have been booed for anything during the fight, going into the fight, after the fight, nothing like that. He was a class act really the whole time, but Spider, holy cow, the crowd was behind him. He was entertaining entering the ring. He was entertaining after the match. And it was great for everything he's done for and meant to the sport, for him to be included and on the main card at that historic UFC 200. So then after that, there were only 2 matches remaining. The Super Samoan Mark Hunt taking on the returning after a 7-year absence Brock Lesnar. And somehow Brock Lesnar was the underdog. Oh, by the way, I picked Cormier in the Spider. I avoided both of them on my DraftKings lineup, but as far as who was going to win the fight, I picked Cormier. Brock Lesnar was the underdog when the Vegas odds were announced for the fight against Mark Hunt. I thought that was insane. I thought it was for sure Brock was going to win, no questions asked. Apparently there were, smart people out there, experts even, who thought that was a laughable concept. And that ended up being laughable. We'll go with that, because there was a key moment in the first part of the first round of the fight between Brock Lesnar and Mark Hunt, where Mark Hunt went for a move and Brock did this really unnecessary cowering bailout type of thing, and people in the crowd started laughing at him, where the response was really good up until that point for him, even though he came out with Canada, representing Canada as opposed to the United States, which to me is completely okay because he lives in Saskatchewan, Canada now. So dude, that's where you live, whatever, that's cool. But they laughed at Brock, and Brock soaked that in for just a couple seconds and then went charging at Mark Hunt right in the waist, imposed his will, got him to the ground, and Brock was back. It was on. The light bulb clicked. He remembered who he was. And then we got a typical Brock Lesnar fight. It did go the full 3 rounds. We didn't see the knockout, but we came really close in round 3 to seeing Mark Hunt get knocked out. Round 1 was definitely Brock's round. Round 2 was more Mark Hunt's round because Brock changed back to, just bad strategy, tried to, out MMA him, out, kickbox him and jiu-jitsu him. It's like, dude, you're Brock freaking Lesnar. Just run at that guy and throw him to the ground. And ultimately there was like 3 or 4 times in the fight where that is exactly what Brock did. The only times he failed was when his technique was off and he was shooting too low. When he went for the leg takedowns, Hunt was able to escape those. But when he went for the tackle spear type of takedowns, there was absolutely no defense that Mark Hunt could have for it. It worked every time. Brock imposed his will. Unquestionably won the fight, unanimous decision, 29-27 on all 3 judges' scorecards. And after the fight, Sable came in the ring, and Brock Lesnar was talking to Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan got done interviewing him, and he asked for the mic to say something, and he actually spoke out very vaguely on all the recent event and current events that had transpired that we talked about earlier in the show. And he said, "Hey, America." And then he goes on to say that we got to stop this. From one white boy to all nationalities, we got to stop killing each other and come together. That wasn't his exact words, but it's pretty close to his exact words, and it was his message. He also said, "Shout out to my boys in blue down in Dallas." Was another part that he threw in there as well. But it was not only was it like extremely well said and just thought out and well done and classy, but it was very out of character from anything Brock has ever done. Like, he's very private to himself. I don't like being a celebrity. I just do the things I do for money and personal satisfaction because I'm really good at them, and I like being involved in violence as an entertainment form in some way, because he's amazingly good at it. But so for him to completely do that uncharacteristic thing and speak out like that was amazing. Let alone, I loved his choice of words and what he said. He wasn't on a side. Again, it was being on a side is effing stupid. You got to stop being on sides. We're all on the same side. We're all people. That's the side. If you're going to be on a side, be on the side for people, okay? Which literally includes everybody that's a person, But, so that fight would be the third that I would put up there for fight of the night contender that I saw. Excluding, like I said, the 3 first-round knockouts that were in the online prelims. By the way, Brock Lesnar is making a buttload of money this year. Reported that he made $6 million for the one fight at UFC 200, and that is not... I want to say he's making $20 or $30 million from all of his earnings, UFC and WWE, scheduled for this calendar year alone. And that's just as things stand right now. Nobody knows if he's going to fight anymore or if this was just a one-off. I do not see how they could just have this be a one-off. There is way too much money for all parties involved to make Brock Lesnar UFC and WWE, as well as it being, it's up to what Brock wants to do. If he has the desire, to do that more often, then by all means he should be able to, and they should do it, but so we'll just have to wait and see. But if it was a one-off, it was a great one-off. And then in the main event, defending bantamweight champion Miesha Tate put her belt on the line versus the number 4 ranked contender. For some reason it wasn't Ronda, for some reason it wasn't Holly, who it should have been Holly getting her rematch. Amanda Nunes was the one who got the opportunity. And I said from freaking day one, and I made it official on all of my freaking fantasy lineups, I didn't pick Miesha Tate. I did 8 DraftKings lineups, okay, and all of them were different. with the except, well, no, I had one lineup that was in two different